Hello, my name is Samantha Ravici, and I'm going to be giving my lecture on Brittany Griner for KIN 454, Behavioral Aspects of Sport. I chose Brittany Griner because I hope one day when I am a health and physical education teacher at the high school level, I would like to be a basketball coach. And not necessarily for just the girls team, maybe the boys team, wherever I could be a coach is where I would like to go. Also because she's a young female basketball player who has everyone adoring her, but at the same time just criticizing everything that she does. Brittany Griner has an awesome basketball career, and that starts back when she was in 11th grade and realized that she was good at the sport all the way up until today. And something she's known for, which is another reason why I chose her, is because she shows a lot of signs of stress and anger. And it's very, very clear, and we'll get further into that in the presentation. For her anxiety in the physical environment, she is very, I would kind of say, self-conscious in a way, not in a bad way, but a lot of people judge her for her size. She is a very tall woman. As you can see in this picture, she is about a foot over everybody, if not more. And this is something that she deals with because people call her a man and they make fun of her for her size. But that's not something that she was able to change. She was born that way. So that has caused her a lot of anxiety. Some of her social environment factors are that she is forced to, not anymore, but when she first came out with her sexual orientation, she told her college coach, and her coach told her to just keep it to herself and then continue to play the game. But that's not what Brittany wanted. Brittany wanted to be forward about herself, but at that time, the coach was more worried about the identity of the college, Baylor University, than anything. And they were concerned about people not wanting to send their children to that school anymore because they supported homosexuality. So this caused her to maintain a certain image of herself that wasn't particularly who she really was. And then her family culture, when she told her family in 11th grade that she was gay, her dad disowned her. So she moved out of her family home and did things on her own, and to this day they're still disconnected because of her sexual orientation. Motivation. In the physical environment, her height and her ability definitely motivates her in this sport because she can dunk, which is not something many female basketball players can do. And she's been doing it since she started playing. So she's awesome. Her social environment, her friends are her support group. And I noticed in an article by Hopkins that she had her friends come with her when she was playing overseas. That's how tight of a friends group that they are, that they're more like family, and they're always very supportive of her since she doesn't have that family life that other people got to grow up with. And then her family culture, her motivation is to support her children, which in the next slide I'll explain a little bit more about, but she has 2 twin girls that she doesn't have full custody of, along with another female basketball player, Glory Johnson. And those are her twins when they were born in her arms. Stress. I'm sure she has a lot of stress in her physical environment, especially she shows a lot of aggression when she's playing, which could be from the everyday stress that she's dealing with, because it's not just the stuff that she's dealing with at practice or on the court, but her home life, her marriage, then divorce, and a custody battle, and people criticizing her and calling her names, which is why I put that balloon down there, because you can tell when she's on the court that she is tense. And as soon as someone bursts that bubble, you don't want to see what happens, because most of the time she gets ejected from the game. Her social environment, she's constantly bullied by her fans because of her identity and what she looks like. But also, when it came to her divorce, everybody decided to jump in. And then when it was Father's Day, people were being mean to her about Father's Day and calling her a man and saying that she needs to man up. Things like this is very stressful on a person. And to have it coming from not just a few people in your hometown, but the whole world. And then her family culture. She just went through a very messy divorce after being married for 29 days to Glory Johnson. They got their marriage annulled, but they had children while they were married. So her ex-wife has 90% custody, I believe they said, but she's paying most of the child care expenses, and the numbers that she has to pay monthly it's a lot. Her desire to compete. Her physical environment, again, her height and her talent makes it inevitable that this sport is just for her. She was made to play basketball. Her social environment, her friends, her coaches, and her teammates always telling her that she's the greatest, and, you know, having sponsors and things that want to sponsor her because of her ability to play the game. And then her family culture, which this was more of an opinionated family culture, because I'm not sure where she stands with her father today, but I'm assuming that they're still disconnected. And I think this is also a desire to compete for her, because she wants to show him what he's missed out, because he was too ashamed to accept her for who she was. And then this slide right here is just to show you that this is why a lot of LGBT community is either homeless, things like that, because you can see here 46% of youth, they run away from their family because they were rejected. And then 43% are kicked out of their house, which she was part of that 43% when she was in high school. So for her 2 outcome goals, to score more points in a game against Elena Doon, who is currently ranked number 1 in the WNBA, and to rebound more shots in a game against Natasha Howard, who is ranked number 2 in the WNBA and has a higher rebound percentage than her. And a strategy for this is that every day, when she's done practice, she's going to do 5 bang drills. Bang drills, misspelled that. Bang drill is when you start on one side of the basket with the ball in 2 hands, you jump up, bang the ball hard against the backboard 3 times, and on the 4th bang, you put the ball into the basket. It was a lot of B's to say at one time. Her 2 performance goals are to make 60% of her free throws for the 2020 season and to score an average of 25 points per game in the 2020 season. Her strategy for this is 3 days a week. She's going to take her free throws until she makes 20 in a row. So if she makes 5 and she misses 1, she's got to start back at 1 until she makes 20 consecutive free throws. This is her statistics from her career. She hasn't made it past 57%, which I think that she could do this if she followed through with those strategies. Her 2 process goals are to stay positive throughout the game. When something triggers her, she's going to take a deep breath, count to 10, and then release all the anger that she was just feeling, and then move on. Moving on is an important part, because she seems to keep her head fixed on one thing, and then she just keeps that and then uses it against someone later in the game. But the goal is to move on. And then to maintain 100% effort throughout the entire game. Her strategy for this is, in and out of practice, Brittany can practice her breathing techniques, Her temper affects her performance and her overall basketball career. In everyday life, as well as practices, when she feels tempted by her anger, she will be mindful of her state and practice her breathing. And when she exhales, it's as if everything she's exhaling is all the anger that she was feeling. And this will help her tremendously rank up in the WNBA, because the less time she'll get ejected will probably bump her up maybe a spot or two, because she hasn't had as many games played as them because of her suspensions. My personal mission statement that I chose is Matthew 7:12. So in everything you do, so in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. For me, I believe that if we all treat each other the way we want to be treated, it would be a much more peaceful world. And I would like to teach my future students that we are able to love because God loved us first. So we should act more like God. What have I learned? I've learned a lot. But I have learned the pros and cons of goal setting, something that I didn't really touch on in the presentation. I learned the pro side of it, which is that setting different types of goals can be better overall for the player, because it's not just focusing on one thing. And then a con of goal setting is that a person can focus on it too much, and then it's going to start making them take, make risky decisions. And it can also make them less motivated, because if they keep failing, they're not going to want to keep trying because they're only focused on one thing. I've learned about different forms of motivation styles and reinforcement, like the two coaches in our reflections earlier in this term. The one lady, she was very aggressive. She was telling her kids, you're bad, and she was pointing in their face, while the other coach was just like, here, have some water, you're doing great, here's some things we could do better, keep up the good work. And then I learned different types of player personalities to aid in team cohesion, which I personally will use going forward, because that's always a good thing when you're trying to recruit players for a basketball team. Guided imagery techniques, I really enjoyed that, because I personally do that a lot in my everyday life. So it's already something that I am used to. And then also how self-confidence can be positive or negative depending on how the player uses it. So someone can be so overconfident that they just keep messing up. And then they get mad at themselves because they thought they were so good, and then it ends up not being what they were expecting. But then someone who's also self-confident in a better way, they are more patient with themselves, and they know that they can achieve the things as long as they just find their center of gravity, their patience, and they just put everything together, and then they move forward. They know they can accomplish anything they put their minds to. Thank you for watching my presentation. I really enjoyed this class, and I've never enjoyed many psychology classes, and I felt like this was something that I truly enjoyed. So thank you, Professor, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your semester and all the semesters to come. Thank you.